Okay, chapter 38 today is going to be talking about the freedom of press. There's actually only 3 slides. This is going to go fairly quick. And then after that, you'll answer your 3 questions. And then you can work on the last assignment, which will be the discussion about the Nazis in Skokie. That's the title of it. So today we're going to talk about the freedom of press. This is chapter 38 if you're following along in the books. Today we're going to talk about censorship and the idea of what is the appropriate way of the government, if the government can censor materials or information or photos or any of that stuff. So censorship is when the government examines publications and productions and prohibits the use of material it finds offensive. The First Amendment protects us from this censorship. Now, if you can think back, we're talking about World War I in United States history, U.S. history. During that time, they did some censorship. The Espionage Act or the Sedition Act, meaning anybody who they felt was spying or saying things that may be negative towards the government, they could have been arrested and charged with espionage, so this was a form of censorship back then. Today, however, that only happens in extreme measures, a lot of times during wartime, and today censorship of the First Amendment protects us from that. I'm going to read this story to you guys, and then we're going to talk a little bit about it. It's called the Gag Order. 6 people were brutally murdered in their home in small Nebraska town. The murders and the later arrest of a suspect received widespread news coverage. At a pretrial hearing that was open to the public, the prosecutor introduced a confession and other evidence against the accused. Both the trial judge and the lawyers believed that publication of the information would make it impossible for the suspect to have a fair trial before an unbiased jury. As a result, the trial judge issued a gag order, which prohibited the news media from reporting the confession or any other evidence against the accused. Members of the news, cut that off, let me get it here, guys. Members of the news media sued to have the gag order declared unconstitutional and removed. Well, here's a kind of an interesting order, or interesting problem here. There is two constitutional rights that are being conflicted here. One is the freedom of speech and the freedom of press, and then the other one is the freedom of a fair trial. Free press, fair trial. Fair trial. So yeah, here this is interesting. So there's 2 rights in conflict. Ultimately, the U.S. Supreme Court decided that the gag order was unconstitutional in this case. The court held that the trial judge should have taken less drastic steps to lessen the effects of the pretrial publicity. The court suggested postponing the trial until a later date or move to a different location. So yeah, however, if the gag order had been upheld, it would have amounted to a prior restraint. Meaning prior restraint means the prohibition against in any publication. It should be prohibition against any publication. Not an N, or not a D, a Y. So that would have prior restraint would have prohibited the press from disseminating that to the public. And then the last one is denying the press access to information. Now, this is another way to censor the press, and it is by denying public access to information. In 1966, there was the Freedom of Information Act, and it required all federal agencies to release information in their files to the public. Now, some of these times, not all information from the government had to be open to the public. Some stuff fell into the category of exception. And some of those exception examples were our national defense or foreign policy and information about that, personnel and medical files, trade secrets, and then confidential information. So the government has to leave their files open for all of us to see, except if it is under the exception. Okay, that was quick and sweet. I hope you guys have had an okay week and doing your assignments. I hope other classes are going all right. Remember, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. I am more than willing and happy to help. So after this, please look underneath this video and look at the link, the blue link. It should say Chapter 38, Comprehension Questions. All right, guys, we'll talk to you later. Bye.